My dad asked me yesterday, why do you keep scotch tape in your makeup bag? I'm like, Dad, don't worry about it. You worry about your toolbox. I'll worry about mine. Hey guys, it's Blaize, and before I get into Bedside Manor, I just wanted to give a quick update. The reason that this is a bedside manner conversation and not a regular one is because my tailbone from the surgeries that I had, the 2 surgeries in less than 10 hours apart, by a crooked doctor last year, my tailbone has been not doing well the past few days, and I almost needed stitches, and there's just been blood everywhere. I'm not going to get into it, but basically I can't get out of bed. So that's why this is a bed manner conversation. So today's bedside manner with Blaize is stuck in a fat suit. So basically, I guess I will go from the beginning to start from the beginning, go to the end, and this side is just so messed up. Okay. When I was when I was a kid, I'm sorry, I have had no sleep in 5 going on 6 days. So, when I was a very young child, prepubescent, thank you, I actually was very, very tiny, like really, really, really skinny. And, so all the other girls, the popular and pretty girls, they bloomed actually very, very fast. And at a very young age, they were, their boobs were growing in, and they had like they were 12-year-olds who looked like 16-year-olds nowadays. So I hated the fact that I was so skinny and flat-chested and was as tiny as I was, because I got made fun of a lot for it. And I actually I was not built a big person. I was not built that way. I was a very, very skinny little girl. I started to develop when I was I started to develop when I was 12 going on 13. But when I really started to develop around 14 and 15 and 16 years old, I started becoming, bustier, and I still wasn't a big girl. I just became less skinny. I was still thin, but I was not like as tiny as I was. At first, when that first started happening, I was so excited, and I was like, finally I have like a woman's body, and I was like, maybe people will find me pretty now and attractive. And so since I was a tiny child, before I even knew what self-esteem was, I never had it. I never had self-esteem. I always hated the way I looked on the outside. I always hated the way I was on the inside. So I never had self-esteem to begin with. But when I started to develop at those ages, it started getting a little bit better. And, for like a hot minute, I thought I was kind of really, really pretty. I was never really, I would say, comfortable in having my full entire body shown naked. But I remember showing up at my friend Jen's birthday party when I was just turned 14, because we're both August babies, but she's a few weeks after mine. So I wore just a sports bra and lounge pants, and that's all I wore to her party. I was like that confident. But as I grew to 17, 18, 19, I didn't like my body being shown to anybody but my fiance, Corey. And he was like the only person I felt comfortable with seeing my body completely naked. So when the incident with Corey happened, with his death, and I'm not going to go into that because it's like the first few times you tell somebody about it, they're like, oh my God, this is terrible. That is the most awful thing I've ever heard of. And that's so sad. And I feel so bad for you. But that only lasts so long. Like, after you go into it every single minute of every single day, they kind of go, okay, I'm not really feeling bad for you anymore. I'm just kind of sick of hearing this story. So I do have a video of that whole entire incident, most of it, on my channel, and I will link that video below if you are interested in hearing that whole incident. So, I was 19 years old when that incident happened. I was the one who found his body. It was a very traumatic experience. And since he came from a Jewish family and I came from a Jewish family, and I'm sure it's with Italian families as well, they do this. I know with Irish families, they drink a lot. You know, I'm being really stereotypical, but these are kind of like facts. So with my family, after this happened, like immediately, like the next day, it was, I know I've said my real name on here before, but I don't really like saying my real name, so I'm just gonna say, it was, Blaize, just keep eating. Food will make you happier. Food will make you comfortable, and food will make you forget your pain. You know, and it's a distraction, and food will make you comfortable, food will make you feel better. So I never had a problem with food, really, before this happened. I mean, I wasn't like the best with food, you know, like a health nut or anything, but I didn't have a problem with like overeating or anything like that. People think when they hear the words eating disorder, immediately what pops into most people's heads is either anorexia or bulimia, which was not what I had. I developed an eating disorder where it became overeating. And some people don't realize that overeating is also an eating disorder. So when this happened, food became my crutch. Food became my drug. It became, oh, are you feeling sad? Oh, are you feeling bored? Oh, are you feeling angry? Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling happy even? It was, food was what I go to. It was my comfort. I was eating my feelings. So I began eating constantly in huge portions, and mostly food that was not very healthy for me. And I'm going to go on to the next. This is going to be extremely hard for me to talk about, even more hard for me to discuss, more so than a lot of the other topics that I have discussed on here. Right now I will, or in a minute or so, I will insert a video of the way I looked before Corey passed away. And that was the body I was in, and I, at that point, thought I was fat, and I absolutely wasn't. After Corey passed away, over the next year and a half till now, I've gained over 100 pounds. And I have not told anybody about that. Nobody knows about that except my family members, like my immediate family members, a couple of my extended family members, and I don't even think I've told my best friend that. I may have. He may know. But other than that, and Michael, but other than that, I have not told anybody that because I'm very, very ashamed of it, and it makes me very depressed and feel absolutely disgusted with myself. I started seeing tons of stretch marks. I have stretch marks all over my body, which Michael did too, so he called us he said we were tiger striped. You know, so they didn't bother him at all or anything like that. But I started, you know, having problems with my breathing, with my walking. You know, even right now, since I've been bedridden, I can't go down and make my own meals or snacks or anything. I'm having to have my sister and my mother and my father bring up my foods and stuff for me. So what I try to make them bring up foods that are fast and easy to make, and they're not the healthiest foods or anything like that. So I'm gaining weight again. And also another factor was medications. So some antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications, as if anybody here has been on them, know quite well that they can be a very contributing factor to weight gain. So that was another thing. Paxil was one of the first. I would not recommend that for anybody who suffers from anxiety or depression out there. Paxil is it works well, but it is a horrible drug. It makes you gain a ton of weight, and coming off of it is like coming off of a very, very heavy narcotic that that's I do not recommend Paxil or anything. But eventually I became borderline diabetic, and then for a while I had actual diabetes. Then I became, as right now, borderline diabetic again. So pretty much I ate myself into diabetes because, like I said, food became my drug. And then I started losing a little bit of weight. I started trying to, and there's been, if you're on my Facebook and you go through, or even on my Instagram, if you go through all my statuses and stuff like that, like I'll say 17 pounds gone, 20 pounds gone, 10 pounds gone, 5.4 of an ounce gone. And I get so excited when I start losing weight again. And I started losing weight over the summer. So I was fitting into things that were making me feel beautiful again. And I was able to show more of my body again. And I was just so happy about the way I was looking. And I was so proud of myself. Another contributor to why I gained so much weight was my physical problems, such as my fibromyalgia. It makes it very difficult for me to exercise. It makes it very difficult for me to move out of bed. I mean, the weight, if I'm in a fibromyalgia flare-up, and anybody who suffers from severe fibromyalgia will tell you that the weight of a blanket sometimes when you're in a flare-up is too much, and it's like agonizing. And it makes it, when you have different physical disabilities, and I'm not just talking about just the fibro, but that is a contributing factor. It makes it very, very hard to exercise. So when your doctor says, oh, you need to exercise more, it's like, yes, I'm well aware that I need to exercise more. It's just, it's easier said than done. So just when I started feeling better about my appearance, back in early September, Michael passed away, very tragically and suddenly and out of nowhere, and just a few hours after I spoke to him. And that was like the same thing that happened with Corey. I was the last one to speak to Corey or see him alive, and I went right back to what I knew when Corey passed away. I went back to food being my drug, being my comfort thing. It was the only thing that, besides my comedies, but my comedies made me like emotionally feel better. Food was what made me feel physically comfortable. And then after I ate, I completely hated myself. and that's usually what happens, because I don't eat until they say don't eat until you're full. Eat and then slow down and stop and see if you're still hungry. I eat, and I think that this has been said before by a comedian that I can't say, but I eat until I am so ashamed of myself and I can't stand myself and I'm bloated and hurting and I overdo it. And so since early September, I started gaining weight back. So yeah. So anytime real tragedy like that has struck, I eat and I eat and I eat and I eat until it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's a drug. Food can be a drug to some people, and I'm one of those people. I kind of, I know they mean well, but I hate it when people say, Blaize, you're not fat, you are curvaceous, you are, any of those kinds of word, you're a thick thighs, pretty eyes, as they like to say, and it's just like, ooh, you got a nice big ass and everything like that. I straight up say I'm fat. I like to be blunt about it. I don't like to say I'm curvy, I'm a big girl or anything like that. I'm fat. I'm a fat chick. Plain and simple. And I'm sure you've seen that in my videos. I hate my appearance. But it's because of things like overeating that has made my appearance the way it is. So I can't blame anybody else. I'm blaming other people, like Corey and Michael, and like I'll talk to them and I'll laugh and I'll be like, or I'll talk to my parent or something and I'll be like, they made me fat. Corey is the reason I'm fat. And like I'll be talking to them, I'm like, you know what, bitches, you made me fat. This is all your fault. You had to go up and do this to me, and now I'm fat. So screw you. You made me fat. But obviously they didn't make me fat. I made me fat. So like I said, I was not born to be a bigger girl. I did not develop to be as big as I am at the moment. And it feels like I am stuck in a fat suit, which I am, because I am a not skinny little mini anymore, but I am a thin girl who is stuck in a fat suit. And it's hard to breathe. When I go and I take my baths, I don't even look in the mirror because I can't stand to see myself. I cannot stand to see... Sorry, the song's distracting me. If you don't know this song, then you have issues. But I can't stand to see my naked body. And I'm constantly pitching at my stomach, looking at my stretch marks, and I cry because I'm like, this is not who I was supposed to be. This is not who I was born to be. It's like, you know how some kids were born thicker and were born to be heavier. I was not. And I never was until Corey passed away. And shortly after Corey passed away. And it's hard, like I said, it's hard to breathe. I can't look at myself naked, so I just don't. It's hard getting on the scale. The scale is like my worst enemy. And I feel like I am a thin girl screaming to get out of the body that I'm in. It's like having a load of heavy blankets on you and you just want to rip yourself out of your skin. You just want to take those blankets off and rip them off so you can breathe again and so you can feel better again. And that's why that this video was entitled that I'm stuck in a fat suit, because that's exactly what it feels like. So I know I have nobody to blame but myself for my weight. I could be eating a lot less portion-wise. I could be eating much healthier. But it is food. You get these, you know how girls will get cravings and stuff like that, like around that time of the month. I have those cravings like every single day, where I'll like be in the mood for macaroni and cheese, and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go make mac and cheese, but it's not like a normal portion. It's a lot, because that will be a day where I'm really, really depressed, or some kind of negative emotion. Pause for a laugh break. And I'll just want to keep eating and eating and eating and eating, not to the point where I'm full. So I am a thinner girl stuck in a fat girl's body. It's like a lot of guys are like, oh, well, I like girls with a really big ass. I like girls with a big ass booty. And I'm like, yeah, you like the girls with the big ass booties that are like, have like shiny and thin, I don't know how to, like thin skin, big butts. You don't like pasty butts that are gigantic, that have cellulite and rolls completely on them, that are natural looking, really huge asses. I don't think that that's exactly what you mean by you like girls with a really big ass. Oh, I like girls with really big boobs. Yeah, but you probably don't like the all-natural stretch marks that are on your big boobs, because your boobs are bigger than they're supposed to be, because you've gained so much weight that it's stretched to make your boobs bigger. I wasn't born to have, I mean, I was always big-chested, but not this big-chested, because I gained so much GD weight that it's insanity. So it's like, when you, maybe it's just the way I see my body, because I do have that disorder, the body, I can't think of the name right now, it starts with a D, like the body dysformation type of thing that anorexics and bulimia people have when they look in the mirror and they actually see themselves as fat. Like, it's like a psychological thing. They actually do. It's not like, oh my god, I'm so fat. That's not the way it is. It's like a funhouse mirror. They see themselves that fat, and that's why they become anorexic and bulimic. So I know I was diagnosed with kind of having that when I was like 18, 19, and so I know people are going to say you're seeing yourself uglier than you really are, and that might be true, but even if that is the case, I think the only person's opinion who matters about how I look, or the most important person whose opinion matters about how I look, is myself. So that's a really important part of things like that. I'm gonna end this bedside manner with Blaize right now, because being in this position sucks, and with my tailbone situation, I've been cut open so many times. I mean, this has been an absolute nightmare for me, for my mother, who's been sticking with me, who I can't thank enough, and my body is completely stiff and cramped because I can't sleep in certain positions because my tailbone is shot completely, and it feels absolutely agonizing, like to the point where there is no describing that. And of course I can't have a video without complaining. It's like, let's pause for another laugh break. Pop Evil is playing. Always taking requests, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Unless they are nasty, which you will be reported. So, you know, all the same, crap, follow me on Instagram. It's .blaize. I will leave my name in the description box and in this video. So, just if you feel the same way or have had similar situations, we can always talk about it on my Instagram, or if you are on my Facebook, we can always talk about it, or you can leave in the comments if you're not too afraid or embarrassed to talk about your story. I'd always, you know, interested in hearing other people's stories, and I'm always interested, and I will always comment back, you know. So I'm a compassionate person, and I'm loyal to my Blazers. And once I hit 50 subscribers, which is like still so embarrassingly low, I am going to be doing a small giveaway, and I will talk about that in my next video, because I want to end this video now, because this is so freaking uncomfortable. Oh my freaking frick. So until next time, stay wicked.